What's good, beautiful people? We're here to talk about the new moon, late degrees Scorpio. Late degrees, about 28 degrees. And so, it's getting a little bit of the cuspy action. I know a lot of you, some people don't be acknowledging cusp. I think cusps are important because they give us information on the transition. Nothing in life happens without a transition. So to not acknowledge the cusp is kind of crazy, but we're gonna break it down. So, moon going into Sagittarius, or the new moon is taking place in Scorpio, but it's still giving us hints of that Sagittarian energy. So what does that actually mean? How does that play out? For the most part, the moon, well, the sun going through Scorpio, a whole Scorpio season, right? And the top of it, I was explaining how, this was a time we had a lot of water energy going on, grand water trine, still a lot of energy in water. So the emphasis has been on emotional, just emotions in general, understanding your emotions, being willing to process your emotions, understanding what you feel. Also, forms of shedding, letting go of certain emotions that might, like, as far as clinging on to them, that might have kept you stifled from, you know, growth in certain ways. We had to come to the conclusion that, okay, I might feel this way, but then, just going through the experience of what Scorpio season was, we should have come to the conclusion that some emotions needed to be just let go of, and it's not so much like it's about the processing of them, understanding that, first of all, you are not your emotions. These are just things that are passing through, holding information about the context of your experience. So processing them allows you the opportunity to break that down, receive the information of how you feel, the truth about how you feel, right? And acknowledging that puts you in a position where you can now, not only learn more about yourself, learn about your it's so many different things you can learn from just processing your own emotions. You learn about where you're at, basically, in reference to everything around you. How you feel about this experience, this circumstance, and then that leads you to be able to make a decision on how you want to move, whether or not you want to invest more into that experience to feel more of the things that you want to feel, or if it's time to switch up, change things, because that no longer resonates with where you want to be. So you can change up and decide to vibrate on a different uh frequency or whatever, to get you to a different place. So it all plays down into each other, right? The thing about this Scorpio season, it probably brought up a lot of fear for you. Like, this new moon happened with basically a conjunction with Mercury and Lilith, also right there on top of the moon and the sun. So with Lilith involved, this is kind of like, you know, whispers of doubt right in the back of your ear. However, at the same time, I look at this from many different angles, and one of the how I want to kind of get the message across is that, look, you already know where you want to. Chances are you know where you want to go with things. You know, if you've been doing it, because, like, I can't really speak for where everybody at, but for the most part, I like to look at it like from a high octave and low octave perspective, right? Let's start off with the low octave this time, right? Let's start off with the low octave. Let's say you've been avoiding processing your emotions, and you've been going through Scorpio season, not transforming yourself, not identifying what needs to change, but instead just kind of going along with the same old bullshit that you've been on, right? So you haven't been really acknowledging where you are still stuck on a certain emotion. You've been allowing things to kind of just fester and basically create, like I talk about, the either a running water that cleans itself, or stuck water, which is a swamp. So now, you walking around all swampy, what I'm saying? You got a lot of things that's still heavy on your heart, and you don't know how to express it. So you're in a space of extreme tension, right? And in that extreme tension, what's going to happen going into sad season, you're just going to find more and more ways to avoid doing that work, because Sag leads into Capricorn. So it's almost like through the experience of Sag. Sag is experiences that's preparing you to be in a position of authority, right? That's what Capricorn represents, is seen as the boss. So going through Sagittarius season, going through the transits through Sagittarius is always leading you to come to a conclusion of, okay, these experiences prepared me to take on responsibility for my new position and role, right? My new status. If you're moving on the low octave end, avoiding the process of emotion, you're not going to really even know what experiences you want to go towards, nor have the passion, the inspiration, or the desire to want to learn and get better to be responsible for anything, because you're trying to avoid that. You're going to avoid, so you're going to go into Sag, avoiding the responsibility, avoiding the you're not trying to learn anything. You trying to just get by, survival mode stuff. You know what I'm saying? Survival mode. So you're just trying to get by. So what I'm doing right now, be aware of these people, because sometimes, and these people aren't necessarily evil people or bad people. Like good and bad, um, you know, good and bad is like an opinion, but from based upon your perspective. These could be very good meaning people, but they just aren't at the space to be aware of the different things that you might be aware of based upon what you've known about life and what you've chosen to do with your life, right? um Everybody's on a different level. Sometimes people are just working these things out, but for the most part, if you are a person who's putting yourself in the high octave aspect of this journey because you care about where you're at, you care about getting to where you want to go, you care about yourself, you care about your life, you've invested into the things that have brought you a certain level of awareness as to these different topics and stuff like that. So you found your way to my channel. So you're trying to figure out, how can I manifest a better circumstance or a better situation? Then this is going to be that path. This path is looking like this. So you've done the work, or been doing the work, doing the best you can throughout the transitions through Scorpio. So you've been having the hard conversations, you've been processing the emotions, understanding how you feel, right? That's giving you powerful information to understand the context of, first of all, your truth, who you are, right? Because our emotions, even though the emotions you feel and the thoughts that come through are not you, even though that is true, they are not you. However, they provide information. They're there for a reason, first of all. Like, because there's something about saying that your emotions and thoughts are not you, because the thing about it is, you're picking up on something. Your signal is picking up on something. So I don't know if it's maybe that black and white. It's not. But see, the thing about it is, you still have the choice on whether or not you want to resonate with certain things that's coming your way. So you still have the ability to agree with that feeling. You're just receiving. So you still have the ability to say, oh, I resonate with that feeling, or I resonate with that thought, right? But these things are still within your space. So just like how you could be in a room, and there could be things all across the room, but you still know what things in that room are yours versus what things in that room are not yours. These are just things in the room. So same thing with feelings and emotions. So in the process of seeing these different emotions or having them pass through, you going through these different experiences, you're able to decide, okay, this is mine in this room, and that's mine, that's not mine. I don't want that. That you can have that. Leave that to the, since this is happening in your experiences, right, all throughout Scorpio. So now we're here at this new moon at the tail end of Scorpio, and the whole thing is that by going through that process, uncovering deeper truths about yourself, there should be a natural flow of events that have led you to this point. And at this point, the new moon looking towards Sag, it's almost like, okay, there's an experience here, or something that I'm gearing myself up to embark on, right? And this is kind of where that faith and fear thing. And the thing about it is, you got to understand, the people who still who act courageous or do things that who achieve any level of success, are people who chose to do this regardless of how they feel. You know what I'm saying? They still feel the same fear, but they chose what they wanted over that fear. You know what I'm saying? So there's levels of, see, what Scorpio is really supposed to do. You look at Scorpio as the energy of Mars and Pluto, right? Mars is the passion, the inspiration, the vigor, the will. And then you have Pluto, which is the power and control, right? The only thing you can truly control is yourself. So it's the empowerment of understanding that it empowers you, right? But it's also the planet of transformation and death. So in that Scorpio season, there was a lot of things you had to kill, but you could only kill it or destroy it or put death to it if you were intentional, if you chose to. And see, a lot of these things are scary to destroy or to put death to because a lot of times people form identities around these things, around certain ways that they feel. Sometimes people create identity around the tragic things around their life, the trauma that they've been through, the shame that they felt when they was a child that carried over as an adult or that they developed in adulthood. You know, because we still creating trauma as adults, especially if you haven't addressed your childhood trauma, you 10 times more prone to create more traumatic situations for yourself because everything plays on to one another. Again, back to what I was saying about cusp. Everything leads to something else. You know what I'm saying? Every transit leads to something else, even this new moon. I like to always understand the new moon in the context of, okay, like this is where it's at, but it's going to end in this case, right? In early degrees Gemini. So that should already even put an idea on your mind as to where this is taking you. It's coming from Scorpio, deep, sacred secrets. Um, you know, and when I say sacred secrets, people will say sex, right? With Scorpio, but not so much sex, but desire. Um, Desire is a good one because back to what I was saying about Scorpio, about the willpower from Mars, the intention, the deep intention though, because this is the reason behind you why you're doing what you're doing. So all of these things are supposed to bring you a certain fire, a certain internal drive, inspiration to want to take the leap, to want to take off. That's and Sag is supposed to play off of that. Sag supposed to be the energy that plays off of that deep rooted passion, to have the courage of the what is it, the audacity, right? Sagittarius, shout out to the Sagittarius. Y'all know Sagittarius is about the audacity to take that leap of faith. Like when you tell somebody you got a dream or you got a purpose, sometimes people look at you like the audacity of this individual to think that they can do something that's never been done before. Like as a, because Sag is the visionary. Sag is like, look, I got this big old big picture that I'm trying to paint. And everybody get on Sag's nerve talking about the little details, even though the little details is what make the big picture. But Sag is trying to give you the vision. So that's the gift of moving and operating through the Scorpio season at a certain frequency level, if you get what I'm saying, right? That's the gift that you are given going into Sag, like what I'm saying, like going like if you've been doing what you're supposed to do, even if you on a low octave. The beautiful thing about this just universe is that everyone gonna feel it. The energies, like everybody gonna feel it whether you've been doing it or not, because you could be going through, you could have avoided emotions all throughout Scorpio season. But if you landed on this video, or just even if you didn't, even if you don't have any collection of astrology at all, it's still going to be something that's sparking you to make you feel the same way that I'm explaining or similar to it, where you know that there is something you need to embark on that requires the transformation, the commitment, the devotion. Like Scorpio to me is devotion, is deeper than commitment. It's devotion, to be devoted to this path that you on, right? And everybody has their own path. Some people don't realize they on a path, but they walk it every day. And it's a reflection of the things that they keep repeating. So even back to understanding Scorpio in your own cycles, that's what Scorpio was teaching you and showing you. Like these are your patterns. And these are your patterns based upon your perception. Your perception is built upon how you feel about yourself and the world around you. Your opportunities, which you don't think is an opportunity, which you don't think is possible. And a lot of times people walking around with a cluttered subconscious, so they have no connection to all possibilities, or they have a connection to it, but the signal is bad. Your signal, the power of your signal to all possibilities, right? Which is really what people are referring to when they speak about God. Your connection to all possibilities is determined on how clear your subconscious really is. And to clean out your subconscious, it requires you to go a certain level of depth within yourself to start to clear out some of these things, to allow those pent up, held on to emotions to process so that your thought pattern can change. If your thought pattern can change, it's going to start to fuck with your perception. You're going to have a different perception. And that different perception allows you to open up your eyes to different possibilities, different opportunities, right? And then the next step after that is to take action, right? But a lot of times people find it difficult to take action because their perception of things is skewed because their subconscious is cluttered, you know what I'm saying? And so they don't understand that there's a possibility to get what they want if they just stay consistent with this one thing. You know, people online is crazy. Everybody want to look on, and I can't blame folks because they don't understand this. You got to get your mind right to get to anything, you know what I'm saying? How you think about, even if you get something monetarily or whatever, you can easily lose it just based upon you not just based upon you not knowing how to handle it, or just based upon you not having your mind right. You know, yeah, not knowing how to handle it is not having your mind right. You don't know what to do with it. That's why, don't ever uh harp on yourself for not being successful yet in your mind. Honestly, I feel like, look, success is a frequency. Success is not a destination. So you need to be on the frequency of being successful. You need to feel like you already successful. And I say it all the time. I'm like, if you have the breath of life in you, you have to understand you already successful. You made it to a physical plane to be able to say you as a spiritual being made it to the physical plane for you to have access to the tools and opportunities to create things in this life. Like, so you have to vibrate on the frequency of success, because the opportunities around you, you might just not be respecting the things in your surroundings that actually can get you where you're trying to go. um Before I go any further though, I want to go ahead and give my intro. What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. You watching Beyond Astrology, you know what I'm saying? Your neighborhood spiritual psychologist breaking down astrology, mental health, all these different things to help us become better spirits in this human experience. Better spirits, better humans, make a better world. You feel what I'm saying? So, that's what it's all about right now. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody, all the new subscribers. You know what I'm saying? I'm really trying to build this community up. So thank y'all for showing love. You know what I'm saying? Hitting that like button, jumping in the comments. I deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Even if you just click play, shout out to you. Thank you for being here. So let's get further into this transition, right? Let's get further into some of these energies. So when we talking about, um, like I was saying, so Scorpio is gifting us that, right? The ability or the passion to go ahead and be like, okay, let's go ahead. Let's just go ahead and take that leap, right? From the high octave perspective, it's like, okay, you might not have all the pieces together, but even if you still have fear, you know that this is the natural next step. And so you got to just do it without trying to think about it too much. Mercury, even though it was part of that, it was in that group, that cluster of where the new moon was. Mercury just a messenger. So this is a lesson too. And people who overthink or struggle with overthinking, you got to understand it's just a messenger. Sometimes you got to tell the messenger to shut the fuck up so that the real generals and the soldiers can, not even the soldiers, so that we can decide what we're going to do about it. The messenger is just a message. So people who, when you stuck in a cycle of overthinking, you have to understand that once you get the message, then tell the messenger to shut up. You know what I'm saying? Or calm down at least so that it can logically think and analyze the information. You know, sometimes Mercury get ahead of itself, and that's why Mercury retrogrades are so common, or it's like the closest connection we have, and it seems like it's always doing it. Mercury is too fast for its own good. That's why it's always depicted with the wings on the feet. So you have to understand your mind always going to try to go faster than your actions. So you might overthink yourself into not taking the action because you're overwhelmed, overstimulated because your mind moving too fast. You sometimes you have to initiate a Mercury retrograde within yourself. Tell your mind to slow down so that I can catch up awareness wise, and then we can make a decision on what to do. So that's a little tip and trick. Sometimes you have to initiate your own internal Mercury retrograde. It's some real shit. Like, because you let your mind go too far, you're not even going to have the awareness to take an action. And that's why we see in the sky Mercury retrogrades when it gets too far ahead of the sun. But it always comes back with hella information to give the sun, right? But it comes in the form of remembering or reference, right? Referencing an old, outdated, or a different, so because it's not always outdated. Sometimes it's referencing a previous way you went about a situation that actually might have worked, or it had the potential to work. It didn't at the time, but it had the potential. And there's different things you're aware of now that could be applied to that old framework that can actually make something achievable. So that a lot of times, that's why I love Mercury retrogrades, because a lot of times they provide you with something that gets you to that, it provides you with something, it just provides you with more information. And information is king, you know what I'm saying? Like, to a degree, you know what I'm saying? Well, no, for real. Information is so important. It's like it's information. It's like kind of how I even think of Gemini and Sag, like information and education. You know, they're different, but they're similar. There's things you can learn in the information, right? Like, if you're not informed, then your education can't really be put to use, right? And if you're not educated, yeah, what I said, yeah, if you're not informed, your education can't be put to use, and if you're not educated, you're not gonna know what to do with the information. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's like it's a cycle like that, right? And that is probably a good segue into understanding where we're going with things. So the new moon, it's supposed to be like new willpower, passion, enthusiasm, desire to embark on this experience or this journey. And in that journey is the need to learn more, right? There's something we need to learn moving into Sag season. That's kind of what the emphasis of Sag season is going to be about. It's like, what can you learn from this? What can you piece together as information for you to be able to get to where you're going, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's about getting to where you're going. Or maybe not, it's the journey, right? You be like, oh, it's the journey. But the where you're trying to go is what's leading you, you know what I'm saying? And that where you're trying to go should be kind of like your purpose. That really should be your purpose, what you agreed to as a mission down here in this third dimension, right? So um getting into the Sag energy, right? So in order to expand, first of all, you have to be a little bit intentional. This Sag season is a bit different than normal, but it's still the same principle. The thing about Sag you have to understand is Sag is an energy that um is the thing about it is too, before I get into that, is you have to also, the reason why there's a difference between, like, sometimes you might be like, not everybody is optimistic, right? Um, Optimism could be seen as foolish, and I agree too. It's like you can't just, I don't agree with blind optimism, but I do feel as though right now, you need to lean on the side of faith over fear. Fear is still going to be there, but you have to it's almost like an underlying just knowing that everything is going to work out. And you know what I'm saying, the confidence that you have the ability to figure it out, that you will figure it out, that, all like you have to. really like when we talk about optimism, I think that's really more so what it's about. It's more so it's like sometimes people think optimism is like just everything is gonna be fine, and it's like this exaggerated expression of like over I forget the word, but just being overly agreeable and everything is good. No, I understand too. Things is fucked up. It's fucked up out here. You know what I'm saying? We going through shit. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But it does not benefit you to assume the worst. It's okay to be aware and prepared for what could go wrong, but it does not benefit you to assume the worst. So, especially in a season like this, I think it'll benefit us ten times more if we assume, or maybe not even assume, make the assumption, but to man, I don't know what the right verbiage is, but accept the reality that things could work out. Like, let's accept the reality that things could work out, and also accept the fact that if things go wrong, I still can make something shake. I still can put something together to make it happen. It's just, you know, there's gonna be people who play into that, and it fuels them to go further than expected, and then there's gonna be people who don't know how to access that aspect, that perspective, who will manifest exactly what they set themselves up for, which would be failure. If you walk around with the assumption that nothing is going to work out or that something could go wrong, well, guess what? That's the very thing you're going to see. That's the only opportunity you're going to see is opportunities to fuck it up. That's what people don't understand. If you put your mind in a space that, you know what, I have the ability to make this work, even if it don't work how I see it working now. Even if my plan doesn't go how I want it to, it's just a certain that's kind of where we got to shift our operating system to, or what I recommend we shift our operating system to, is that, you know, yeah, I think maybe, just maybe, things will work out. If I and then what comes in that process of things working out is you being an active participant in what you're engaging with as an experience. So don't just play around with the experience like it's not gonna, yeah, don't just play around. Take it serious. And that's why this Sag season is a bit different than other ones. Because see, Sag energy sometimes has the stereotype of being the playful one, or jovial, or not necessarily it's funny. I do got a few Sag friends, and like it's not so much laziness, but it do come off like that, right? Right. Not to go in on y'all, I'm really taking it easy on y'all, right? But Sagittarius be having to go through something before they actually get serious about anything. And sometimes it's because they went through something too early or too soon that they don't take things as serious, or they put on the front like they're not taking things as serious. Um, but this sad season, there needs to be a little bit. It's not even so much seriousness as it is intention. It has to be. You have to be intentional about what you're gonna expand on, what you're gonna learn. You have to be on top of your shit in that regard of, and understand it in the context of what you're trying to be known for, or what you're trying to position yourself as, what you're trying to become the authority of, and the authority of, not of others, but of yourself, within yourself. Like, what do you want to have more of a grip on when it comes to, in your own life? Like, what are you trying to, but understand that position comes with responsibilities. And so the learning needs to be, the expansion you do needs to be in the context of knowing, like, okay, this is something that I'm preparing myself to be responsible for, right? And the thing about the low octave energy, especially when we go into Sag, or if you are an individual with low octave Sag energy, is the avoidance of responsibility that a lot of times creates the conflict in a Sagittarius's life, actually on all levels. Like, if you a Sagittarius and you wondering what is creating the difficulty in your life, it's just the avoidance of taking responsibility for certain things. that you are actually responsible for. I'm not saying just take on responsibility for any and everything. It has to be things that you actually are responsible for, which are, first of all, the first thing is your life and the outcomes that you experience. The next thing is anything you create from that, be it kids or other things, because there's other things that you can create. Um, but regardless, that's what it comes down to. So, whew, all that being said, right? Um, yeah, all that being said, so the new moon is basically right there. Is putting you right there in a position to say, okay, well, look, here's the runway. Take off. You know what I'm saying? Take off. And like there's again a natural progression that you probably came to at this point to show you exactly what those things are leading up to now. It's like, okay, now you should have some awareness of where you're trying to go and where you're trying to take things, but now you have to actually do it. Now let's talk about some of the things that we might be experiencing, right? So one thing I like to always note is that during the new moon, right, you always want to experience um so the new moon is going to fill you up with all kinds of new ideas about what you want to do, right? However, sometimes it comes with the it comes at the price of you having to fight through things that are going to try to get in the way of where you want to go. It could come in the form of old see sometimes like I was saying before, like the responsibility of where you want to go, right? So to get where you're trying to go, you have to go through those experiences, right, that are popping up, that are trying to, you have to go through the experiences of breaking into that to get into that new circumstance. So like taking action in that direction. But taking action in that direction, it sounds easy, but what makes it hard is the fact that it's almost like when you decide you want to go somewhere, you're gonna get hit with the resistance that kind of almost feels like it's working against you. And this is a possibility. I don't know what degree everybody's experiencing this, but this is what I've experienced a lot of times during new moons. New moons is so much of an inspirational energy to go to something new, but a lot of times what you're met with is the resistance. And the resistance is not so much like the universe doing it to you or anybody doing it to you. It's almost like in order to prepare you for what it's like, just for the lack of better like context, please don't take this like lack of. I just want to explain this. It feels like the universe is throwing the opposite at you to see if you even serious about it. Like, okay, you say you want to do this, dude. Let me throw this at you and see how you respond to that is the truth. Like how you respond to that is the truth of what's going to happen. Like you can't. So hold on. I know I might be moving too fast, but hopefully y'all get what I'm saying because literally just experiencing this, you know, this is what I've experienced over time, just going about different things in life. It's like the second you decide you want to do something, the opposite comes first. And this is more so with manifestation, right? When you're trying to manifest something. So during the new moon, this is the prime time to manifest. So in this pursuit of this new experience or this new path, right? In the pursuit of that new goal or whatever it is you're trying to go, be aware of how the resistance is going to come to you and how you respond to it is kind of like the determining factor. So even though you might be inspired to do different things, that inspiration is going to get met with the resistance. So sometimes you can get burnt out through that. Sometimes you can allow that to burn you out. Next thing you know, as you trying to get to the next step, you get discouraged, and then those resistance slow you down. Before you know it, you've procrastinated, you made decisions that reflect an old mind state, and then you're back feeling back in that cycle of shame, doubt, and not really, shame, doubt, and then it kind of bleeds into envy because you start to see other people who seemingly got through their experiences and their hardship, or whatever it may be. You don't know what other people been going through, but it's gonna feel like everybody moving at a faster rate than you. So it's gonna mess with you, right? It's gonna make you feel like, oh man, like it's just gonna create more cycles of doubt and have you spiral. So what you got to do is understand that, like, when we go to new moons, it's time for war, especially a new moon in Scorpio. It's wartime. Like, it's not no time to sit around and be thinking and let certain things just happen. Like, you got to understand, like, hold on, if this is where I'm trying to go, I need to go there with conviction. I need to go there like I belong there. Like I said, move in that direction, like it's your, like you responsible for it, or like, and this is getting into like what Scorpio should have left you with. It should have left you with that super, that deep resonance, that deep power, and this is what we got to pull from to allow us to go through these new experiences, to go through these new experiences without allowing so many things of the world to weigh us down. Because before you know it, you'll be getting hit with all these different things. And again, like I said, it's one thing after another. It slows you down, and then you trying to pick this up, you trying to pick that up, and it's like, man, just stay focused on that one focal point of where you're trying to go. To just get to my point more clearly, the resistance that you get in that new moon, you have to must like, it's almost like you got to think you're creating, you're starting to fill the cup. I feel like during the new moon is almost like you building the cup, the cup that will hold all the emotions that the rest of the moon cycles will accumulate in. So the building of the cup is like you creating a certain mental fortitude around what it is that you're trying to manifest. That's why people would tell you, grab your journal or grab something, write down your intentions and stuff like that. Because writing down the intentions is not just some cute little shit to feel good. This is like you building your armor, because that intention is what's going to carry you through the different experiences throughout the cycle, the moon cycle, that might just, if you didn't create strong intentions, will kind of take you off your game, throw you off, and then before you know it, you confused, you distracted, you back at square one. You haven't manifested anything, or at least not to the degree or magnitude that you wanted it. You got distracted along the way. So we really need to solidify. Think about it, fixed water. We need to solidify what our intentions are, solidify them, so that when they go into Sag, the way they thaw is going to be in a way of it's almost like, think of Scorpio as like that you froze a certain mentality that you wanted to experience, or experience, the certain mentality that you wanted to experience, and throughout Sag season you're going to be thawing that, and it's almost like it preserved it through this time. That's kind of how I see this energy, because that's the thing. You might not feel comfortable about the next step of the journey. You might not feel comfortable about where you're trying to take things, but you gotta make that decision in your head. There might be a lot of things in the third dimension dragging you this way, dragging you that way, making you look here, making you look there, and it can get too clogged up in your subconscious. That clarity is now tempered with. So now if you lack in that clarity, like I said before, that signal, it's hard to kind of see something that's not here, and you trying to grasp for something, but you don't have the clarity of mind to stay locked in on it long enough for it to actually materialize. Like, this is a lot of times why it take a long time to bring something here, or it feel like 10 steps forward, 12 steps back, what I'm saying, or you know so think about it like this. Yeah, you might have the all the inspiration to want to do things to transform and change your life, but you still might be getting hit with things that make it seem and feel like it's damn near impossible to get there. You know what I'm saying? But you have to, this is where you have to really focus, and you have to understand, like, okay, um, it's not necessarily supposed to be easy, but as long as it's aligned, it's a difference between, things that aren't necessarily meant to be easy, but if they're aligned with you, they'll be natural. It's natural things, aka you'll do one thing and it'll naturally lead to another thing that it's like when you start to like how they say when you on your path you don't even really know it's your path, you just know, "Oh, I'm just doing things," and then the next thing that I should do presents itself. Sometimes people sit back and try to plan out the whole path, and what you do is you kind of mess up because no matter what, it's never going to play out exactly how you see it. You know what I'm saying? It's never going to play out exactly how you see it. So to be so preemptive, say you can't treat it as if it's just going to automatically be how you imagine it. You can't treat it like that. You have to actually respect the flow of life. So when you're going and participating with things, it's like you have to understand that, look, if I take another step, God will take the next one, but I need to be focused, right? Have the right intention and do it with conviction, and then have the faith and patience to know that the next thing will present itself, But again, it's like people who do great things don't do it absent with fear absent. They do it with fear still present, but their willpower to do it was stronger than their fear of not getting that their willpower to do is bigger than their fear of what might happen after they do it. You know what I'm saying? So, because all of that is in your mind and playing with your mind. So, another trick too is to look at the opposite energy. So again, this happened in late degrees Scorpio. So still in Scorpio, but the late degree, let's go opposite to that would still be Taurus, right? And in Taurus, it's kind of like understanding that, okay, with the Taurus energy, late degree Taurus, this is Taurus deals with value. So where Scorpio is about devotion and it's about commit, it's about devotion towards that deep passion and what deeply resonated with you, right? Also contracts and things on that level. Taurus is dealing with value. So it's almost in self-esteem, right? And stability, practicality in that form. So you have to be strong in that. You have to take, you know, being that the new moon energy is a brand new, fresh energy, you haven't built anything in there yet. But what you can do is access that opposite, take some principles from Taurus to fulfill that, to build and formulate that cup in Scorpio. So a lot of that would be being fixated on your practicality about how you could work out that bigger vision of yours, right? Take some of that principle of self-esteem. You're gonna have to construct your self-esteem. Hey, if you value yourself, then you're gonna have to put yourself in a position to get up and do what it is you need to do to get where you're trying to go. You get what I'm saying? So that's another one of those hacks and tricks, what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to be willing, like again, that's that leap of faith. You might be in a situation where it's like, you want to work for yourself. You're trying to build up a business for yourself. You're trying to experience a certain side of life that your current circumstances is not quite allowing you to do, right? Not saying to be foolish, but if you have that vision to do something different, then this is where it starts by valuing yourself enough to say, well, I'm gonna do it regardless. I'm gonna put this together. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna stay fixated on my own way of being practical and do it with the driving force of whatever my deep passion is. I'm gonna be devoted to my fixated way of making this life make sense, making this make sense in my life. And so that's the starting point. So let's talk about the moon cycles as it's moving, right? So when you look at these different moon cycles, it's going to start off like again, the moon right now is in Sag, and it made its way to Sag. So this is the expansion, emotional expansion. So now you need to open up your feelings to what is possible. Like open up your feelings to what's possible, right? Mars is here. So along that is also the acknowledgement of maybe even frustrations of things that's getting in the way of you experiencing those things that you want to experience, right? So that's the moon could jump Mars. So you might, again, you got two choices. You could high octave, low octave. You can get frustrated or you can get motivated. You can start to be like, oh, no, no, no. This is how I got to do it. I got to put that shift my gears to get into that extra overdrive mode, right? Boom. And then from the moon going into Capricorn, this is you having to create structure around that, right? The structure around that is going to be creating a sextile, right? With Venus, Venus in Scorpio, right? So this is the opportunity to create some structure around what it is you actually want and desire. Since Venus right there is in that desire space as well. So that desire of what you want, okay, let's put some structure behind it. What resources do I actually have in my what resources do I have access to that can start to create structures and systems that support me getting what I want? Also, that support this bigger vision that I have. Because remember, everything is being built on wherever the new moon started. So it's like that bigger vision that I have, right? Even though it was in Scorpio, it's 28 degrees, it's cuspy, it's going into Sag. So all that devotion is devoted to the bigger vision. So the moon sliding into Capricorn is you saying, okay, what systems can support me experiencing my bigger vision that I'm devoted to, right? And then it's going to sextile with that Venus, it's going to sextile with Mercury. So the strategic thinking comes in here, right? How can I, yeah, strategic thinking. I'm just going to leave it at that, right? The sun should at this point be moving into Sag, early degrees. So we're coming into now the awareness of where we got to go, how we have to expand, how we have to go about this long distance travel, what we might need along the way to get there safely, or at least just get there, period. The moon going, and then also the moon is opposite Jupiter. So this is just being aware of where we might feel emotional pressure, where this new experience is going to make us feel uncomfortable. But the beautiful thing about Jupiter and Sag is teaching us so many things through the opportunities that we're taking, the chances and risks that we're taking, because the experiences we're having, they're emotional. So everything feels like it's grand, and yeah, everything feels bigger than it is, but there's a lot of information in there, you know what I'm saying? So just don't get lost in the feeling. Just take the feeling for what it is, process it, and then you can understand it, you know what I'm saying? Or vice versa. Some people need to intellectualize before they process. That's okay too, just as long as you process. As long as you feel what you need to feel, because there's a lot of information in that you don't want to miss out on. And then there is then the moon, yeah, let me think, where else? Because in Capricorn, it trines with Uranus late degree. So there is a gift there to kind of feel like the change is worth it, or the change is moving you towards something, right? Um, and then also sextile with Pisces. So Saturn and Pisces, right? So there is also an opportunity for you to apply structure to that dream, further structure into that dream, because that dream is still important, right? Now, that dream is kind of squaring that Sag energy, but we'll get into that later. And the new moon trined Pisces. So a lot of what we are devoted to, that bigger vision is reflective of the dream that we have, that imagination. Neptune, what we believe is possible. Hopefully you believe in yourself. Um, Moon moving into Aquarius is going to be this is where this is a sextile to an opportunity, and this moving is going to pass through Pluto. So transforming your emotions. This is the point in time where you should start to feel like, oh, hold on, there's something here, right? And this kind of leads into the square point. So there's a emotional transformation you'll go through, and the moon slides into Aquarius, and then a sextile with the sun. So this is where, now that we are aware of that bigger vision, and we're taking the steps to along that journey, and we're having the experiences, this is the opportunity for us to now start to associate with ourselves differently, and associate with others within within the context of that vision. We're trying to put that vision together. So now we need to tap into our network, right? That might be externally or internally. We just having different conversations with ourselves that'll put us in a different mental space to help us achieve what we're going after, right? Now the moon sliding into Pisces, this is that square point where now we're assessing if what we've been putting together as a system supports the bigger vision. Are we kind of getting to the details, or are we off a little bit and need to redirect? And a lot of this is going to be shown through our belief system. Do we still believe in ourselves to be able to achieve this? If you did this properly through the high octave route, this is going to be you feeling like you're going to actually have the imagination to fulfill the kind of pieces of the puzzle that you might not have had just with the Sag energy. Sag is the day side of Jupiter. The night side of Jupiter is fulfilling. So I like to look at Sag as the morality and the philosophy of it, in Pisces as the belief in it, the belief in it, the real faith in it, the where I feel like I'm on the right path. Like it's something intuitive at that point. So now the information is, it's going to feel more, you're going to be connected to that vision differently than you might have started. Again, if you did it properly, if you was on a low octave, this is where the delusions might take over, the self-doubt might take over. If you hadn't been making progress through those other signs, you're not even gonna have anything practical to show for, to justify you feeling like that vision will work out. You know what I'm saying? Be mindful. The moon is passing through two Saturn ruled signs and a Jupiter ruled sign. Like the Jupiter ruled sign first, but two Saturn ruled signs. So if you didn't do the work in Capricorn and Aquarius specifically, by the time it gets to Pisces, it's not really gonna, it's gonna, your vision is now, you can decide at that point, you can see at that point whether or not it's a delusion or something that's possible. So hopefully if you did the high octave route, it's going to look possible. If you did the low octave, it's going to look delusional. You didn't do nothing to make that make sense. You didn't build no systems, you didn't make no structures, you didn't connect with nobody in that space to help validate the dream and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it's going to look more like a delusion. However, that's not the end of it, because you still have the other half leading up to the full moon to make a decision, or to take action to make sure that you can kind of still get some manifestations back, right? So going into Aries, this is going to be a newfound passion to get it, right? This is a trine with the sun. So this is going to be you being able to go full force. Also, another thing to note is at the tail end of Pisces, when the moon slides through that, it's going to meet up with Saturn and it's going to meet up with Neptune. So if you ain't got nothing to show for it to Saturn, Saturn gonna laugh at you like you wasn't even working on, you wasn't even trying. Can't fuck with you. Wasn't even trying. Neptune might say it's okay, baby, but in the back of her mind, she like, you ain't getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? But moon going into Aries, this is a trine with the sun. So this is you having all the willpower, the real confidence, the real courage to, what I'm saying, really go for it. Right? Um, that's what that's going to look like. And that's also a trine with Mars. So you will have the gift to really put in a lot of work during that time, right? And to not only that, but to be recognized as the leader in that. So this is you having the kind of just inner passion, inner drive. It's going to show and reflect in how you moving. And then the moon in Taurus. And this is where we start to get into the right before the full moon. The moon in Taurus is where you're going to start to feel like either it's going to be it creates an in conjunction with the sun, but you're going to either feel like it's starting to make sense or you're going to feel like you was off, right? And you're going to have to kind of deal with that. You want to feel secure. You're either going to feel secure in that vision, like, okay, it might not all the way be together, but I got certain things that create a sense of inner stability in my whatever that vision was and the path that I chose. Or it's going to be kind of like, man, I missed the mark, right? And so it might not feel like it make enough sense. And at that point, it's just what it is, but you can still make sense of it, but you might have to do a little bit more work. All right. And then finally, with the full moon in Gemini, that's you having the ability to communicate about it and whether or not others resonate with the information, with the conversation, the information that you're able it's almost like you having the analytics almost. You know what the streets are saying about your product. You know what you're able to articulate it. But see, it's almost like it speaks for itself in a sense too, because it's the full moon. So it might not be, you won't have to over explain what it is that you're doing. It'll show for it. And that is how we treat just like how during the new moon, we look to the opposite energy to get some context and how we should go about it. This one is going to be the opposite. So we had the full moon. We already doing too much with but leading up to, I think it's going to be early degree Gemini. So it's not even going to be. Not that early though. We still gonna have some Gemini energy. And at that point, you could do a little communicating, a little networking. But by the time it get to the full culmination of the full moon, you should be able to chill out on Gemini energy. So people who did the low octave route, they're gonna have to over explain what it is that they was trying to do for that big vision. The people who did it on the high octave end, the people who did it right, it's gonna speak for itself. The experience, I'm already experiencing it. You experiencing it through me. So ain't nothing to speak about. Ain't much to speak about, I should say. You feel? So that's the transition from the new moon to the full moon. So yeah, there's a lot more I want to, or there's some more things I want to tap into. I had to kind of chop this video up a little bit, but for what I want to go ahead and put this out now. So I appreciate y'all for watching, tuning in. Please leave a comment about what house you have the new moon in, because I really do want to come back for a part two. I had some other things going on this morning, so I had to kind of cut it shorter than I would like. But I'm probably gonna come back, if not, yeah, probably tomorrow with another take on it and drop some clips throughout the weekend. But comment your house that you have it in, because I think the next thing I want to do is talk about this new moon experience through the houses and things of that nature. But hope this was helpful. Yeah, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.